everyone. Welcome to Yara Rose Healing. I'm so excited for this opportunity to speak with you again today. I wasn't sure what to talk to you about, so I asked my kids if they had any ideas on what would be a really good next subject. And they brought up synchronicities and how to read and understand and interpret signs from your loved ones. And I thought that was inspired. I thought that was great, especially following the last episode of my podcast, which was about how love transcends death. So, when I was thinking about what example to give you about signs and how they've shown up in our life, there was one really cool one that we had recently shopping for my husband's grandma's funeral. That morning, my daughter and I were in the kitchen getting ready for breakfast. And all of a sudden, this orange marker went flying across our table. And we were like, well, that's weird. I guess Spirit's here today, already giving us signs. But, whatever. You could write it off if you want to do and just say it fell. But it was really interesting. And we just kind of thought about it. And we had it in our back of our minds. And then we went shopping to get some clothes for the funeral. And as we're in the checkout line, my daughter and I are talking, and my son and husband are just kind of standing there waiting our turn. And there was this display over off to the right where it was kind of in our peripheral, but we could kind of see it at the same time. And it was full of like 4 or 5 different Dr. Seuss books, like more than one book, but 4 or 5 different titles stacked up where they're just selling different ones. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these orange books go flying onto the floor. And we were like, oh my gosh, are you serious? I looked at my daughter and I was like, that is not a coincidence. An orange marker goes flying across our table, and now a whole bunch of orange books fall. And then I was like, well, that's curious. Because if it hadn't been an orange marker, what if it was a green one? Then it wouldn't have been as important, right? It wouldn't have struck a chord as much. But when it was an orange marker and then orange books, I was like, there's something to this. So I kind of, when we left, I looked over there to see what book it was. And it was Horton Hears a Who by Dr. Seuss. So I immediately went home and looked up what this Dr. Seuss book was about, because I just knew that Spirit wanted us to look into it and to see what it's about. And I'm going to quickly read you the synopsis that I found online, because it just captures everything. One day, Horton the elephant hears a cry from help coming from a speck of dust. Even though he can't see anyone on the speck, he decides to help it. As it turns out, the speck of dust is home to the Whos, who live in the city of Whoville. Horton agrees to help protect the Whos and their home, but this gives him nothing but torment from his neighbors, who refuse to believe that anything could survive on the speck. Still, Horton stands by the motto that, after all, a person is a person, no matter how small. And I couldn't believe the messaging in that. It struck a chord with me so deeply. I actually typed into, because we don't have the book, so I actually went on YouTube and I typed in that name, and there was a storyteller that reads different children's books just for children. And I listened to it, and I was touched beyond words by the message in that. Not only the part about everyone is a person, no matter how small, because that's impactful, right? That's so true and not always celebrated in society, but it should be, because we are all divine. We are all important, and we all have this amazing, 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 amazing viewpoint and creativity and inspiration to add to the world, to make it a more beautiful, happy, vibrant place. But also the part about his neighbors not believing in something that he can hear and knows to be true. And what really struck me was listening to the story and hearing about not only their denial of Horton's experience with this speck and the Whoville people, but also their outright shows of force against it. Like, because they couldn't hear it, it meant it didn't exist. But it wasn't one of those situations where it was like, okay, well, that's just Horton. He's just that way, and then ignore him. No, they were outright like attacking him and trying to tie him down and taking the speck and throwing it away. And it was just like, I don't understand that part of humanity. And I don't know if I ever will, but it's clear in the actual world, especially it seems like today, where if someone doesn't believe in what you believe in, if someone doesn't have the same values or the same concepts, then they're just supposed to be thrown away. Then they should be attacked because they're not the same as you, because you can't understand their viewpoint. And to be honest, it angers me a little bit that that's how the world is. And it's just something that I feel like we should all work on. We should all work on being more accepting. We should all work on being more understanding. Because if we can learn so much from people that have different viewpoints than us, and we can maybe not necessarily agree with them, and that's fine, but just think about, okay, that's how they see the world. Is there anything wrong with that? No. Why do we all have to have the same world? That's kind of bland, isn't it? Would you all want to eat the same food every day after day after day, all day of your life? Like, I wouldn't. So why do we all want to have the exact same experience? And why aren't we celebrating everybody else's experiences? And it made me think of myself a lot, because at this stage, I get a little nervous about coming on here and talking about communicating with spirit and about my experiences with spirit and these obvious signs, these obvious messages that they have for you and I, because I know some people don't believe in that. And I know that I can get criticized for that. But at the end of the day, I think we all have to make this decision for ourselves. And that's, how are you going to show up in the world? And who are you going to honor more? All the people out there that don't want you to talk and to tell your story and to be real and honest and be vulnerable when you have to, because you're confident in your experiences in life, and honor yourself? Or are you going to let your fear of what could happen, of what all those other people out there could do, let your fear of what the external world and everybody else's opinions stop you from being who you came here to be? That's something that only you can answer. But I feel like we're all faced with that at some point, whatever the belief is. I mean, mine is celebrating my spirituality, celebrating being able to communicate with the spirit world, and knowing that even in death, I can still have those relationships and they still live on, and I still communicate with them and they still give me these amazing signs. That's important to me, because that's a real experience that I have. And for anyone else to deny that, I just can't hide. I can't hide that side of myself anymore, even if they don't agree. And that's fine. They don't have to. Maybe that's not been their experience. I have no problem with people that don't believe. That's not why I'm here. I'm here asking you what you do believe in. And are you willing to show up for yourself? Are you willing to love yourself enough to be who you are, regardless of what anyone else thinks or says? Because actually, in the end of the day, their reaction says a lot more about them than it does about you. So I asked Spirit to give me a couple messages in conjunction with the story that I shared with you. And I think it's so poignant, and it so adds to what I've already been talking about. And that's, the first one was the High Priestess, which I know you can't really see. I'm going to read it right from Chris Ann's The Light Seers Tarot guidebook. The priestess sits on the edge of this realm and the next, and she draws down meaning and illumination from beyond the veil. Sacred insights and profound wisdom are flowing to you now. And to access them, you must tune into your intuition and submerge your thoughts into her subconscious realm. The language of the unconscious mind is revealing itself to you now through metaphor, in dreams, or as ancient memories that resurface to be processed. Pay attention to synchronicity, any nagging feelings of being off track, as well as gut feelings that move you in a new direction at this time. The divine whispers that are emanating from your soul hold an important message for you. And the bridge between the enigmatic realm of priestess and your conscious understanding of the signs will be found through your own quiet introspection. And the affirmation is, I have the answers I seek, and by following the truth, I will find them. And this is awesome because this is a divine feminine card. It's like the feminine energy, the ability to sit in quiet and silence and to reflect and receive messages. And then out pops the King of Wands, which to me is all about the action of it. So here we have, this is so awesome, you guys. I couldn't have picked it better. Here we have the female, the part of you that wants to receive and to be aligned and wait for that intuitive nudges, those gut feelings, those instincts, and do actions from a connected place. And then in comes the king of passion, the tightened, the confidence to go and follow through on those actions, regardless of what anyone says. Dynamic duo, perfect message. Message from the guidebook says, this fiery guy, he's a charismatic and natural born leader whose vitality emanates through his laughter and his obsession with a life well lived. As you dance into this energy, you may feel like a surge of entrepreneurial passion that pushes you to the edges of your epic success. The card of moguls, masterpieces, and soul inspiration, the King of Wands calls you to unleash that offbeat weirdo that you've got inside and be absolutely unapologetic in your pursuit of the stellar. Ground your vision through the wildly novel expression of big ideas, and if you find yourself getting tripped up in the minute of the everyday, recruit, help, and map out the bigger picture. Holler passionately, invite others to see what you see. The shadow side of this energy is that you may not perceive your own blind spots because of an overzealous ambition. Keep arrogance and unrealistic expectations at bay and work out the kinks before charging ahead with your intensely vibrant heart. Passionate and heart-fueled, we build this empire of light together. How perfect is that? You guys, how perfect is this whole message and how it's packaged and put together by Spirit? I love them. I love them so much. They're so fun to work with. So, as we always end with an affirmation for you, I ask you this. How are you going to show up in the world? Are you going to let yourself be who you want to be? Are you going to let your inspirations flow through you? Or are you going to fight the messages that you have, the heart dreams that you feel compelled and have wished and wished upon forever? Are you going to follow through with what you want most in your life? Or are you going to let your life be dictated by other people or by your fears even? I need to stop right here. One or the front? This one. They want me to do this one. I affirm only the good in life. I am in harmony with all that surrounds me, and I am at peace. Oh, that brings up something else I wanted to say. Sorry, that's perfect. I am at peace. I am at peace. What does that mean for you? That's also something I wanted to bring up. And I'm so grateful that they reminded me. You can't be at peace when you're fighting with yourself. And if you have something that you want to do, or you have something that you want to be, or if you have some values that you really want to honor, you're not going to find peace in denying those in yourself. You're just going to have an internal battle over and over and over again. And I feel like in our lives, at some point, we all have to finally ask ourselves what we're going to do in our life to bring ourselves peace, because we're not going to find it out there. You can't buy peace. You can't buy enough material things to bring you the inner peace that only you can bring yourself by following through with who you are. I hope this message resonates. I wish you all the best, and I love you so much. Take care.